This conference will now be recorded.
All right, guys, it's 8 a.m. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thanks everyone for joining this session. Uh, Before going further, can somebody confirm is I'm audible to everyone? Can you please
Yes.
confirm? Okay, perfect. Thanks. Sorry, I'm going to put everyone on mute. Okay, guys. Yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining this session. This presentation is a result of my series called 21 Days of AWS using Terraform. And the whole idea behind that is to build this kind of infrastructure. So today our main focus is to focus on the first part of it, which is to build up this VPC, this virtual private cloud. Okay. Uh, just some housekeeping tasks during this entire presentation. I'm the only one who's speaking, and you guys are on the listen only mode. But if you guys have any question, can you guys please ask via the Slack channel? The reason I'm asking it again because the moment I'm going to end this presentation, all these like whatever question you guys have asked is going to be lost. So that's why I keep on pressing this, like, please ask your question via the Slack channel. Secondly, this is a kind of a like a the VPC we are going to build is the result of the session which I have took earlier. So if you guys are not aware of what exactly is Terraform, please watch this session. You should have some basic idea like how Terraform work before coming to this session. Okay. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So like I mentioned you guys, our idea is to build this VPC infrastructure. But before starting building this VPC infrastructure, the way this session is going to be held is like for the first 30 minutes, I am going to build a VPC using the AWS UI. And in the next last 30 minutes, we are going to build the same VPC, but this time we are going to Terraform it. Okay. So the way, okay, so before I proceed further, I got some feedback from some people that last time they are not able to view the font and everything. So this time I will try to keep this font as big as possible. So let's get started. So the first question is, what exactly is a VPC? Okay. And before going to what exactly is a VPC, there are a few people who asked me this question, why I started with a VPC, why I haven't started with some other topics in AWS. So let's try to understand in all of these things in the basic terms or points of view. So for example, compare this with your company. Okay. So let's say you are setting up some data center in somewhere in the world, and before you start racking up your server, the first thing you need is a networking. So try to think at this point of time, VPC equal to networking. So in your data center, one of the ISP, they provide you a networking. Okay. Then only after that you will start deploying your server. So that's why I started with this topic of VPC, so that first we have a networking up and running, and then only after that we are going to deploy all of our infrastructure, like whatever it is, like either the EC2 server or the RDS database, application load balancer, or auto scaling on the top of it. Okay, if that is clear, let's start with what exactly the word VPC. So there are many definitions available on the internet. Even we have the official uh, definition of VPC. But I will start with my own definition of VPC. So VPC, I think most of you know, is the virtual private cloud. So what exactly is a virtual private cloud? So once again, I will go with my own definition of this VPC. So let's say you have your own environment. Okay, your company has your own data center, and most of the companies, they have at least three data center. I'm just taking in terms of like a broad example. So let's say you have a dev data center. Okay, then you have some kind of a test data center, and finally you have a prod data center. Okay. And sorry guys, can you put yourself on mute? on yep, thanks. So most of the company, they have at least these three data centers, and the main idea behind the different data center for different companies is to provide a network isolation layer. Okay, so you don't want your changes which is happening in dev, or you don't want anyone from your dev environment directly going to talk to production, or you don't want any of your test environment machine is going to, means there might be some edge cases, but in most of the time you want some kind of isolation. Yeah, like your dev is completely separate from test, and your test will be completely separate from production. Okay, so VPC provides that network isolation layer. You are going to deploy a VPC, for example VPC1, which is going to be completely separate from VPC2. Okay, so there are ways in which this VPC1 is going to communicate to the VPC2 by something called VPC peering, or you can use something called transit gateway. Okay, to have this VPC communicate with each other. But the main idea behind that is to provide a layer of isolation so that none of my dev server will directly communicate to the prod server. So this is what we are going to build. We are going to build a VPC where all of our server or all of our infrastructure lies, and it's a completely isolated environment. But the main difference is like, uh, for example, today if you want to set up your data center, it will at least take 3 to 6 months to set up that data center. But in case of Amazon or in AWS, you will see like we will going to deploy our VPC just in 30 minutes or in maximum in 1 hour. Okay. So our infrastructure is going to be how our infrastructure is going to be look like. So we are going to have two public subnets, and then in VPC we are going to deploy two private subnet. Okay. So I will give you that information. So our public subnet is 10.0.1.0/24 and 10.0.2.0/24, and then we going to have a two private subnet, 10.0.3.0/24 and 10.0/4.0/24. And on the top of that, we have the main VPC range, which is 10.0.0.0/16. So if you do not understand all this subnet range, let me try to explain to you with a simple way. So there's a website called cider.xyz. Okay, it's pretty interactive. So let's try to put this one 10.0, 0, 0, and 16. So basically, we are going to get a 65,000 IP. That is, we can deploy a 65,000 hosts in this VPC if we are going to use this cider range. And on the top of that, we are going to split that into a different availability zone. This one. So in each availability zone, we have a 256 server. Okay. So let me again try to explain to you guys into a more simplified language. So this part is our main VPC cider, and then we have the public subnet and the private subnet. Okay. So the way the whole AWS infrastructure set up is like the entire infrastructure is divided into a region, and then each region has a multiple availability zone. Okay. So if you log into the AWS console and if you go here, you will see something called a region. So they have a presence in West Coast like Oregon or in Northern California, and even they have like a data center in Hong Kong, Mumbai, or all the way into the Europe and everywhere. Okay. And within this region of Oregon, they have a separate availability zone. This one, US West 2A, US West 2B, 2C, and 2D. Okay. So these are a physically separated data center which lies on different location. Okay, so within Oregon, you have a different data center. Okay, so think of it like we are going to deploy this main VPC here, and then we are going to deploy this public subnet, first one in US West 2A, first private subnet in US West 2A, second public subnet on US West 2B, and second private subnet in US West 2B. And the reason for that, if this availability zone goes down because of some reason, we should have our application up and running in second availability zone. Okay, the ideal scenario will be like you should have your application deployed in different regions. So for example, if you have your application part A deployed in Oregon, then the second part should be deployed in Ohio or in Northern Virginia, or wherever be your data center, Europe or Mumbai, wherever it is. But for this demo, what I'm going to do, I'm going to deploy it like this. So first part is here and second part in US West 2B. Okay, so I think this is enough of theory. Let's go to the AWS console and try to implement this. So first thing is, let's go to the AWS console, scroll down, and you will see something called VPC. Okay, uh, when when you set up your account, it comes up with something called a default VPC. So if you scroll here, you will see something called default VPC. This is the VPC which has been set up by AWS itself. Okay, now let's try to create our own VPC. And to do that, and just to re-emphasize the same point, in the first half, we are going to create the VPC using this AWS UI or console. And the next half, we are going to create this same VPC, but by using a Terraform. Okay. So to create your own VPC, you just need to hit this create VPC button. Here, you need to give some value, for example, my test VPC. Okay. Here, you need to give that IP6, IPv4 CIDR block. So that what we have discussed here, that I'm going to use this one, which is going to give me 65,000 hosts or 65,000 instance I can deploy it in this VPC. Okay. So 10.0.0.0.0/16. Okay. For the timing, I'm not going to use IPv6, and there is something called a tenancy, which can be a default or dedicated. Default means it can be shared with other customer. Dedicated means it is dedicated for your environment, but dedicated is going to cost you more. Okay, so let's create this VPC, and our VPC is created. Okay, so let's refresh this, and you will see that my test VPC has been created. Okay, so let's go here. Before that, let me check if there is any question so far. Hey guys, once again, my request is, can you please ask your question via this Slack channel? Because moment we have this moment, I'm going to end this session, all these questions will be lost. So I want to keep this question. Okay. So let's select this VPC. Okay. And now we are going to see few things. So the moment you create this VPC, there are few things which is created by default by AWS for you. So let's take a note of all those things. So we have created this VPC. Okay. Now, if you click on this route table, you will see that this route table is created for us by AWS. So if you go here, this VPC is 5EACC, and you will see, because here on the top down bar, I have selected this VPC. So now it is all it's going to show all the value related to that particular VPC. So you will see that once we created this VPC, AWS by default created this route table for us. We are going to see what exactly this route table is. Let's take a note of all these things because we need all these configuration or resources for our Terraform code. Now, if you scroll further, you will see something called network echoes which is created for us, network echoes, and last but not the least, something created for us. Now, we need few more things to build our VPC. First is called subnet. So if you click here, there is no subnet created for us. We need our own custom route table. I'm just taking a note of all those things, and then I will try to explain to you guys what exactly are all those things. And last one is the internet gateway. And we need to add few more things. Okay. So let's first start with a subnet. What exactly is a subnet? So like I explained it to you guys, where I explained to you, like AWS region is split up into a different availability zone. So in each availability zone, we have this different subnet. Okay. So let's try to specify this subnet to create this subnet. So first subnet I'm going to create is called uh, public one underscore subnet. You can give any name to it. My test VPC. Preference, I'm going to deploy this subnet in US West 2A, and I'm going to give it a CIDR block of 10.1.0/24, the one which we have decided earlier. Like I'm going to give it to this CIDR block to this subnet. And once again, this CIDR block is going to give me a 256 host. Okay, so let's go here and create this. Let me copy this, create. Okay, so we created our first public subnet. Let's give it pub2. Okay, select our VPC that we have created. Preference is US West 2. I told you guys that we are going to split this subnet into different availability zone. So that's why I selected US West 2B. And for this one, the CIDR block is 2.0.0/24. Okay. Remember that this name is public subnet. That is, we are just assigning a tag to it. This is not exactly a public subnet at this point of time. Okay. So we have 10.1.0, 10.2.0. Let's create our private subnet. So I will give private one underscore subnet. Select our VPC as 2A. This is for private subnet. So that's why I selected US West 2A. And one more private subnet. Private 2.subnet. Select VPC. Preference is US West 2B and 10.0.4.0/24. Okay. So if you go back to our diagram, we have created these two public subnets and these two private subnets. Okay. And at this point, we have our VPC and we have our subnet. Okay. Now, like I told you guys here, that we are just assigning a tag to these subnet. These subnets are not actually a public or a private subnet. To make it a public or a private subnet, okay, or to make it specifically a public subnet, we need to attach something to it which is called a internet gateway. So what exactly internet gateway is going to do? It's going to route the traffic which is coming from these public subnet to internet. Simple. Okay. So let's create our internet gateway next. So let's click here, click internet gateway. You can give it any name. My test IGW. Okay. Let's refresh this. and currently it is in the detached state. So what we need to do, we need to attach it to our VPC. And now if you see that AWS start providing these commands. So any one of you guys who is aware of Google Cloud, that is one of the good feature in Google Cloud. For each and every UI command, they used to give you that API call. So now AWS also start providing for some of these resources. So attach it. So far, what we have done, we have created our VPC, we have created a subnet, and we have created the internet gateway. Okay. Let's now focus on route table. So if I am going to split this, so like I told you guys, when once you created the VPC, these four things is created for you by default. But we need to create all these things, right? So far we have created the subnet. This is done. This is done. Okay. And this part we already been taken care by AWS. So let's focus on custom route table. But before focusing on custom route table, let's see the default route table which is provided by AWS. So if you scroll here, you will see something called route table. Okay. And this is the route. Let's select our VPC. So this is the route table which is created by AWS for us when we create that VPC. And let's click on the route. Okay. So if you remember, this is the subnet block which we have given to our VPC when we created it. So by default, it is saying that any request which is going to hit to this subnet block, for example, in the future, when we are going to build an instance using this VPC, route that request locally. Locally means within that subnet. That means our request is not going to hit the internet or to the outside world. Okay. So let me tell you one thing. If you click on this subnet association tab, by default, any subnet which we are going to create is associated with this default route table. That means none of these subnet, or if we are going to deploy any of the instance on this subnet, they do not have any idea how to route this traffic out in the outside world. So if I will try to explain to you guys here. So we have this main subnet block 10.16, and inside it we have this 10.1.0/24 for public subnet, and let me take one of these to 3.0.2.0/24 for private subnet. Okay, this is for public subnet and this is for private subnet. Okay, and then I showed you guys this default route table, this one. So by default, all these subnet which we have created is a part of this default route table, as you can see. Okay, and this default route table, what it is saying, so let's say in future, if I'm going to build an instance using this subnet or any of these subnet, though that instance doesn't have any idea how to talk to the internet. The only thing it know that if our traffic request comes for this subnet, it's going to route the request locally. So that means if any of the instance which is going to be hosted on this public subnet need to talk to the private subnet here, it know how to route it. But it doesn't know how to route that request to the external internet world. Okay. And to do that, we need to create one more route table. So let's say my public route table. And sorry, we don't need to create that public, but in this case, I'm creating it. Let me show you why. So I created this my public route table, and if you look here, even by default, this route table is going to route all the requests locally. Even this guy doesn't have any idea how to route this request to the external world. So what exactly we need to do? We need to add one more block, and that block is 0.0.0 slash 0 uh, slash 0 and this one, the internet gateway which we have created in the earlier step. Okay, so now what I'm saying, except for this subnet, if there is any other request which is coming for this subnet or for this environment, route it to the internet gateway. Okay, so like this. Now if I'm going to build any of the instance, the idea is to route the request to the internet gateway. Okay, but like I told you guys, by default all the subnet is associated with the default route table, which doesn't have any idea how to route this request. So what we need to do is need to do something called, so I was here, let me click on this, edit subnet association, and I need to assign these two subnet explicitly to this route table. So now, because these subnet have a route to the outside world, this is, I know, something a kind of confusing, but this is how it's going to work. Okay, in the earlier stage we just assign a tag to it. The assigning a tag doesn't mean that that subnet become a public subnet. We first need to associate it with that we first need to create an internet gateway, then create a route table. In that route table we need to associate that internet gateway, and after that we explicitly need to specify, okay, which subnet we want to make as a public subnet. Okay, so if you go here, we have created our custom route table. Okay, we have created our subnet, internet gateway, and all these things are available for us for by default. Now let's talk about the network echo part. And honestly, in like, I'm using AWS from last 7 years and I've never touched the network echoes. Most of the time I was dealing with the security group. So what is exactly a network echo is? So in the simplest term, if you can think of your environment, you first have a router, right? And router is going to take care of all the networking stuff, like how to route those requests. And then you have, let's talk in terms of AWS, you have an instance, or in your own environment, let's say if you're not using AWS, you have a virtual machine or a physical machine. Okay, so if you want to allow a port 22, let's say port 22 which has been used for SH, so if you want to allow this port, you can allow this port in the router firewall. Okay, or if the firewall you are using at this level. Okay, so think of it if that you have the routing rule available at the subnet level, at the subnet level, and then this is at the instance level. So you can think of it like a instance level firewall or IP tables. So if you go here and click on this network echoes, you will see something this inbound rule and outbound rule. So by default, all the inbound traffic is allowed and all the outbound traffic is allowed. Okay, and if you go to a security group, you will see that all the inbound traffic for this particular security group is allowed and all the outbound traffic is allowed. So what do you mean by inbound and outbound? So let me, no. Okay, so let's go here. So we have something called inbound and outbound. Okay, which in other terms called ingress or egress. Okay, so let's say in your environment you created one AWS instance. Okay, and now you want to log into that instance. So to log into that instance, you need to have a port 22 open. Okay, so that port 22 need to be open at the ingress level because you want to access to that particular instance. Okay, now let's say this machine, your instance is a web server, and now it need to talk to the database server, which can be anything. Let's say MySQL. So for this web server to communicate to this database server, let's say it's running on 3306, it need to have that egress rule. Okay. So at the egress level, I need to open 3306. So if you come here, I need to open, if you go here, 22 at the inbound level for me to able to access to this instance. But let's cancel this. If this server need to communicate to the MySQL database, I need to open that MySQL port at the egress level. Okay, let's see if we have that MySQL port. I think we should have somewhere. Yeah, this MySQL Aurora, this one MySQL. Wow, oh sorry, not MS SQL, MySQL. I mean, you guys get the picture, like what exactly I'm trying to do. This one. So for all the traffic which is going to hit that instance, I need to open ingress. All the traffic which is going to leave out of that instance, I need to open egress. Okay. So with that, I think we have covered all these topics. So now we need to terraform this code. So we need to create a VPC, all these things. Okay. So I know this is so many things to grab at one moment or in last 30 minutes. So I'm going to pause for like this time for 1 minute and let me know if you guys have any question. You can ask it via the Slack channel. So I'm going to put myself on. Sorry. Now, if you guys have any question, you can ask it via the Slack channel. Once again, guys, I can answer this question, but can you please ask it via the Slack channel? Because, like I told you guys earlier, the moment I'm going to close this webinar, all these questions will be lost, and these are pretty good questions. So, first question is, can you explain about tenancy? So, yes, there are two type of tenancy. Let me go here. So, there are two kind of tenancy. Tenancy. One is called default, and second one is called dedicated. So default tenancy means that you are sharing that environment. For example, if you are building a VPC, that the host or the server where that VPC is going to be hosted, like behind the scene, AWS might be using a router or they might be using some kind of a software defined networking. So that piece of a host is being shared with all the other customers. While in a case of a dedicated, that host or that a router or a firewall, whatever they are using, that is only dedicated to you. Okay. So I think I answered this question. I think 10.0, 3.0.24. I don't know where it is. For public, you mentioned no. So Kanan, the whole idea is means it's completely up to you. But what I'm trying to do is like I'm trying to put first two in public subnet, one and two, and three and four on private subnet. I know there are some companies who have a standards like, for example, they want to put all the odd numbers in public subnet and all the even number in private subnet. So it's completely up to your design decision. Why VPC is attached to internet gateway instead of public subnet? I think I already answered this question. Why VPC is attached to an internet gateway instead of public subnet? I mean, you cannot attach this internet gateway directly to a public subnet. You need to have a route, and via the route table, you can only attach it to the internet gateway. What about the private route? So private route is like by default, I told you guys, every subnet you are going to create is by default will be the part of that private route table, that it doesn't know how to route those requests to the outside world. Okay, we need to explicitly specify which subnet we want to make it as a part of a public subnet. Why slash 24 instead of slash 16? So slash 24 is a big subnet block. So if you see here, we have like this one and this one. So this is a big subnet block. The main idea is to segregate our network into small subnet. And if you guys are using AWS for quite some time, let me show you something. So earlier, in the early days of AWS, if you set this subnet range like this, and coming back to to Prashant question, like if we specify this range, let's say this one, and you are working for a big enterprise, and like I showed you guys here, we can only deploy 6,536 hosts in this VPC now. Okay, and I think we cannot deploy this 65,536. There are few uh, IP which is going to be AWS is going to reserve for DNS resolution for their own router. So you have like say, let's say you utilize this whole subnet range. So now you have now you run out of all these subnet or IP ranges. What will be your next step? So in earlier days, you can't do anything because you specify this block and you already utilize all the subnet in this or all the IP in this subnet range. But now AWS provide an option called, this is here, so edit CIDR, and now you can add 5 more CIDRs, like 1 and 4 more CIDR to it. So let's say I want to specify 172.16.0.0/16. So I can add 4 more CIDR to this, to your VPC. Okay. Oh, sorry, restricted range. So I think I don't told you guys about the restricted range. So if you look here, we cannot use any range for creating our VPC. AWS recommends some of this CIDR range, which is RFC 1918 standard, which should be RFC 1918 standard, which should follow these standards. Okay. So the main idea I was trying to tell you guys, like you can now add more CIDR range to your VPC. How can I enable the internet access to the instance into the private subnet? So for that purpose, Alexander, the way I can think of is you can use something called a NAT gateway. Okay, we are not going to talk much about NAT gateway in today's presentation, but if you want, you can reach out to me. I've created some docs where I showed you guys like how to create that NAT gateway and how to make your private subnet talk to the external world. Any limitation CIDR range? I think Santosh, I already answered this question. Let me ping you this doc. So you can only use these 3 specified CIDR ranges. Okay. Now, one thing I want to told you guys that even after specifying all these things, if you try to build your instance using this subnet range, so let me show you. So now if you go back to your EC2 instance console page, okay, launch instance, let's pick any AMI, any of this. Now here you can pick this VPC which we have created, and let's say this is a public subnet. Okay, I'm picking this public subnet which is US West 2A1 or US West 2B. I can pick any subnet. But if you see here this auto assign public IP block, it is still going to use subnet setting disable. Okay. Now I'm going to pause for 30 seconds. We still need to do some more configuration to make this work. So based on your experience, guys, can you tell me what is the thing which we are still missing to make this work? Can you please reply back to me in the Slack channel? We still need to do some configuration change to make this configuration work. This is still not going to work. Awesome, guys. Several people are typing. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. So basically what we need to do here, let me select that particular VPC. And if you go here, you see something called auto assign public IP, which is by default set to no. So what you need to do is modify auto assign public IP, and you need to enable it for that particular subnet. So 1 second. Yeah, I choose the public subnet. Save. Come here. Public IP. That's it. So now let's cancel this. Launch instance. Come here. And if we select that VPC, select the public subnet, now you will see the use subnet setting is enabled. So there's this step. I think earlier when I started creating a VPC, I always miss this step, and then I will try to debug it why my instance is not getting a public IP. So just remember this one more step you need to do to enable that auto assigning of the public IP to your instance. So now if you guys think that this is too much to do to create a single VPC, like we need to do all these steps, the or the bad news is in a case of a Terraform world. So if you remember that when I created this VPC, all these things are created for me by default. But in Terraform, all these 7 things you need to create manually. Okay. So let's start working on our Terraform code. We only have 18 minutes left, so I need to be a little bit rushed up for this. So I already shared that Terraform code with you guys today morning. If you do not have that link, I will paste it here again. Here. Hey guys, can you put yourself on mute? Yeah, thank you. So let's start working on our Terraform code. Okay. So first thing we need to do is we need to start with that main.tf file, like we started in the previous demo. And because we are going to build our resources in AWS, we need to start with something called provider block. Okay. And I want to deploy this resource in where? US West 2, the Oregon region. Okay. And just to avoid any conflict, let me delete this VPC which we have created manually, and let's try to terraform it. So let's delete this. Okay. So now we will start with that blank slate. And some people told me that the font size is too small, so let me try to increase it. Okay. So this is a provider block. Okay. And let's go here. And second thing we need to do is something called data resource. So let's copy this, and then I will try to explain to you guys data resource. So what this data resource is doing, so let's come here. Okay. So there are two kind of a resource in case of a Terraform. One is the resource which we have created so far. So for example, if you remember the last demo, we use something called resource, and then we specify something called AWS underscore instance. Okay. And using that resource, we have created our EC2 instance. So creation of EC2 instance is dependent upon these kind of resources. But let me clear this. Okay, okay, let me copy this somewhere else and then we'll start this. Yeah. So now let's focus on data resource. So I told you guys earlier, if you go here, we have this region called US West 2. And US West 2 has a different availability zone, US West 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D. These region or resource is created for us by AWS, right? All these availability zone. So what data resource will do, it's not going to US West 2C and US West 2D. Okay. And this is just based on my experience. Don't use this data resource in production environment, because if you guys are using AWS for quite some time, you know that earlier in Oregon region, AWS only have these resources, these availability zone 2A, 2B, and 2C. So in my environment, I use this data resource, and I think at the start of this year or at the mid of this year, AWS add this additional availability zone. So what happened in my case, AWS start my Terraform code start creating resources in 2D, which my VPC don't have any idea. So in production environment, my recommendation is try to hard code this value. Okay. But for the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to show you this data availability resource. Okay. So coming back to here, we define this. Okay. We define our provider, which is AWS. We define our data resource, which is going to give us all the availability zone, that is US West 2A to 2B, all those. Now we need to create our own VPC. Okay. The first thing which we have did. So in case of Terraform, you don't need to memorize all those things. Just search for this AWS VPC Terraform. And just copy paste this block. So what exactly this is doing is we are using our AWS underscore VPC resource with this as a variable. And this is a CIDR block which we have given to our VPC earlier. So same thing, what we did on the UI, the same thing we are trying to do with the help of a Terraform. So let's go here and copy paste this block. Okay. So we are trying to create a AWS VPC. Okay. We are giving this as a variable name. And this is something new which I have added here. So earlier, if you remember, let's cut this. So far, what we have done, we are trying to specify this value or hard coding this value 10.0.0.16. Okay. Now, rather doing this like this, we are specifying something called a variable here. Okay. And the way you are going to specify this variable in a separate file, which is called variables.tf. The naming should not matter as long as this file ends with .tf extension. Okay. So what exactly we are going to do here, we are going to specify this variable, and the way you can specify a variable in Terraform is with a variable keyword and default, and I'm going to specify, one second, like this. So my code look much cleaner in this case. I don't know how many of you guys have experienced like I always thought that whenever I'm going to push this code from dev to production, only then I'm going to refactor my code. But it's always a good idea to refactor or to make your code cleaner during the earlier development stage. So that's what I'm trying to do it here. Rather than hard coding that value of this CIDR block, like 10.0.0.0.16 here, I'm trying to use a variable whose name is this VPC underscore CIDR, and I'm trying to reference that variable here with the help of this interpolation syntax, which we have learned during my first session. So the way you can reference any variable is like dollar sign, quotation mark, var.vpc underscore CIDR. And the good news is, in case of our Terraform 0.2.12, you don't need to use this all this block. But I'm using Terraform from quite like more than 1.5 years, and I'm used to this kind of a syntax. So that's why I'm using it. Now, enable DNS hostname and enable DNS support. So if you know that whenever you create any instance in AWS, for example, when you create instance here, right now I do not have any running instance, but when you created any instance here, you will see that it will automatically assigning a host name to that instance. Like AWS automatically assigns a host name to that instance. And the reason for that, to have this setting by default enabled for you. So let me show you. If you go here, and like I told you guys, by default, whenever you set up an account, this default VPC is created for you. This one. Uh, Default VPC equal to yes. And if you click here, DSC option set, you by default, there is one DSCP server which is running for you in that particular VPC, which is going to assign a host name to you. Okay, I don't think so I can edit this. But if you look at the domain name, whenever you are going to build a server, it should have a name like IP hyphen whatever with the public IP, and then this domain name associated with it. So what I'm trying to do here, that whenever my instance comes up in this VPC, it should have a host name associated with it. Okay. And finally, I'm trying to assign a tag to it, which is just to give it a meaningful name. So once this VPC will come up and running, it should have a name assigned in this block. Okay. So we are done with the first part, is that creation of a VPC. Okay. Now let's move to the second part. The second part is creating internet gateway. Means it's completely up to you wherever you want to specify this resource. The Terraform is not like that you need to first define this resource at the top and then you will move forward. Even this VPC block, you can put this block all the way up to the bottom. Terraform is smart enough to know how to make this kind of a decision. Okay, so internally Terraform use something called Terraform graph to figure it out which resource dependent on the other resource. Okay, is people asking any question? Can we add a multiple CIDR while creating VPC? While creating VPC, I never tried that, but I can try that. Uh, yeah, Prashant, I'm going to explain it to you guys when I'm going to create a any instance on the top of it. But if you have any running instance in your VPC, you will see something like a host name associated with that instance. We only have 6 minutes left, and I think this session is going to run out for next 10 minutes more. So let's quickly jump into those things. So next step is I'm creating an internet gateway. Okay. And for that is the resource is the AWS internet gateway. I'm assigning a variable to it. And like in the earlier section, if you remember that, when we created that internet gateway, I need to associate that internet gateway. So what I did after creating it, I attach it to my VPC. So similar way, after creating that internet gateway, what I'm trying to do here is associating it with my VPC here. Okay. And then I'm just assigning a tag to it. So we are done here with the VPC creation and with the internet gateway creation. Now let's move further. Then we are going to specify a route table. So remember that, like I told you guys, in case of UI, this route table is created for you by default. But in case of a Terraform, you need to create this route table manually. So first, let's create a public route table. This is the like a custom route table which even in our UI, in the case of a UI, you need to create it, and then you need to create something called a private route table. Okay, so let's look at this. So first thing is resource. Resource name is AWS route table. Okay, and if you go here and search for AWS route table Terraform, you will find that this resource is responsible for creating the route table. You can just copy paste this entry from here. Second thing is we need to associate this route table to our VPC. Like where exactly is this route table is going to be held. Next step is, if you remember that when we created that custom route table, okay, that block is gone. So what we did, we associate that route table to the internet gateway. So same way we are doing it over here. We are associating that CIDR block that is 0.0 to the internet gateway. And because I already deleted that VPC, that's why you are seeing this black hole as a status. Okay, any doubts so far? Sorry guys, we have only few minutes left. That's why I'm rushing into all these things. So first thing is we have created this public route table. The next step is we need to create that default route table. And the way we are going to define that default route table is this resource specifying a variable and then referencing our VPC in the similar way. But in case of a default route table, you need to use something called, for example, AWS underscore VPC, which is this, the variable, this, and then rather than using a ID, you need to use something called default route table ID. This is a standard syntax you need to use. Okay, and then furthermost, you need to assign a tag to that route table. So far we have created a VPC, we created a route table, we have created the custom route table, which is this one, public route table, and we have created the internet gateway. Now the next step is let's create the subnet. So to create the subnet, we need to create two subnet, public subnet and the private subnet. This is where the things look getting little bit weird in case of Terraform. Okay, so see here, this is pretty straightforward. I am using something called a AWS underscore subnet as a resource. Then this is a variable name, which is public underscore subnet. Now, if you remember that we have two subnet block for the public subnet. One is 10.1, 10.0.1 and 10.2.10.0.2.0. We have these two. One and one, where is that? Did I? Yeah, 10.0.1.0 and 10.2.0.2.0. So in case of a Terraform, if I'm using something more than one, I need to specify something called a count block, where count equal to 3. If I'm using 10.3 or 10.5 something, so I need to specify count equal to 3. Okay. So here, because I'm using 2, I need to specify count equal to 2. Now here things looks little bit tricky. So here I'm defining something called a variable equal to public CIDR and then count equal to index. So let's try to understand that. But before that, let me try to define this variable. So I'm defining a variable whose name is public underscore CIDR. Mhm. What are- Okay. And we need to define something more here, which is type equal to list. So far, what we are dealing with all these values, they are the single value. They are the list. But here we are dealing with a multiple value. So in case of a Terraform, the type of that variable or the type data type for that is a list. And then we need to specify the default value. And the default value is 10.0.1.0/24, comma. So now let's go back to our Terraform code and try to understand what exactly is happening here. So I specified this variable called public CIDRs with a type of list, and the value is this and this. And if you remember, I specify count equal to 2. So like any other programming language, means Terraform is not a full-fledged programming language, it's just a declarative language. So what exactly is going to happen when this loop is going to run? This CIDR block is going to pick the first value, like the first value of this count.index is going to set up as a var dot public CIDR, public underscore CIDR is set to 0. And the 0th means 10.0.1.0. When the second time this loop is going to run, this value set up to 1 and it's going to pick this second value. So that's why inside var.public.CIDR I'm specifying count.index. Like with each iteration, it's going to pick one value at a time. First value is this and second value is this one. Okay. So this var public CIDR count.index. So first iteration is going to pick 1.0 and second is 2.0. Again, I'm associating this public is the subnet to our VPC. And if you remember that what I told you guys, by default, subnet is not going to associate a public IP to your instance. So that's why I'm setting up this flag as a true. Here, what we did earlier, that this auto assign public IP. Yes, the one thing which we have done, like we have modified this auto assign public IP setting. So same thing I'm doing it in my Terraform code. For this public subnet, auto associate this IP. Okay. And then for availability zone, I specify a data resource. This data AWS availability zone. And this is going to work in the similar way. So what it will do, it will try to pull those availability zone for me. So if you copy this code, this guy over here, and again, I set the count.index, which is count equal to 2. So what this data AWS availability zone will do, dot available dot name, it is going to pull all these resource. With pull means it's going to get all these value. And because I set count.index count equal to 2, for the first iteration, it's going to pick US West 2A and US West 2B. Because in our code, we are only using these two as a availability zone. Okay. And then just a tag associated to it. Exactly the same thing I am doing it for the private subnet. So for that, I need to specify that variable. So I'm just going to copy paste this entire block. Okay. And put it a value of private underscore CIDRs. Let's go CIDR. Type is list and going to change this value to 3 and 4. And the rest of the code is exactly the same, like I'm doing it for the public subnet. Now, just few more blocks and then we are done. So let's go back here. So we created our VPC route table. Network ACL, I'm not going to create it. Security group is left. And then custom route table, subnet, internet gateway, And the one thing which we are missing here is like when we created our route table, we associate our subnet to that route table. So that subnet association part is missing. The subnet association part is the main important thing which is going to make those subnet as a public subnet. Okay. So this is a little bit tricky and challenging, and this is one thing which of any of like if you are beginner to Terraform, this looks really complicated and awkward. So let's see what is going on here. We are using a resource called AWS Route Table Association, and under the hood, what it is going to do, it's just going to do the same thing which we have done earlier. Like we selected these two blocks to make it as a part of that route table. So what we are doing it over here is using this resource with this name, because we need to associate two subnet. We are using count as a 2. Then which route table? Sorry, let's focus on public one first. Which route table? So for that, we have specified something called AWS route table dot public route. So AWS route table dot public route dot ID. I'm referencing it over here, and this is a little bit complex. So if I need to iterate over the value of those subnet, let's try to understand it over here. Wow. And what I need to do, so if you go here, I have this AWS subnet as a resource, AWS subnet. Then I have this public subnet. Now inside this public subnet, I'm referencing this public CIDRs, which is these two, right? The way I am going to reference both of these CIDR inside my subnet by what like dot star dot star dot ID, and then with the help of count dot index, in the first iteration it's going to get this value, this one, and in second iteration it's going to get this value. I know this thing is changed in case of Terraform 0.12, and it shows a much better representation of this. But with Terraform 0.11, this is the way you're going to reference those subnet inside your route table association. Okay. And then this is a bug in the Terraform code. I don't know when they are going to fix it. It might be fixed in 0.12, but AWS route table association depend upon two other resource, which is this one, AWS route table public route and AWS subnet public route. So AWS route table public route, this one and this one. So once again, for this route table association, what exactly we are trying to do is first associating this with this route, okay, and then with this subnet ID. The same thing which we have done here, the edit subnet association. So if you see here, we are associating a route table to the subnet, for example, like this. And then only after that, this subnet will become a public subnet. Okay. Same thing I'm doing it for the private subnet. Exactly the same thing. Only difference is rather than referencing it to the public route ID, I'm referencing it to a private route and private subnet. And finally, the last piece is the security group, which you already seen in the previous section. Okay, so AWS security group. Okay, I think I missed some part. Yeah, this one. So this is a good thing about this PyCharm, that's going to give you this red mark that, okay, you have missed something in your code. Okay, and one final thing. So today I have showed you this main.tf, this variable.tf, where you can specify your variable. There's one more file I want to show you called outputs.tf. So once your resource is created, for example, in this case, the default VPC, it has some VPC ID associated with it, right? So let's say when I am going to create this VPC, I want to get that VPC ID for some kind of automation. So the way I'm going to do it is output. You can give it any name here. So let's say I'm giving AWS VPC ID. And the way I'm going to reference this is, let me increase the size of this one, is AWS underscore VPC. So AWS underscore VPC, then the variable name, which is main, and then ID. So what it output block is going to give it to me, that once this VPC is created, whatever be the ID is going to created by AWS is going to give return me that ID. Okay, so let's go here, and now it's the prime time. So first thing which we need to do is run something called Terraform format. I always recommend to run this before running any of the Terraform command. So it's going to give you a proper formatting to your code, and you can use it with -diff. Okay, so it's going to properly format your Terraform code. Now you can run Terraform in it, which is going to download all the available plugins depending upon your provider. In our case, it's AWS. So it's downloading all the plugin related to your provider. Next is Terraform plan, which is just going to show you what exactly Terraform is going to do without implementing any changes. So it is showing that we are creating this default route table. We are creating this internet gateway, this route table. This is a public route table. Then we are associating with it. Then we are creating the security group and a bunch of other things. So it's creating these 16 resources for us, and then Terraform apply. And Terraform apply is again the combination of Terraform plan plus applying the resource. And just for your information, guys, if you don't want to click if you don't want to run that plan and do the auto approve, you can do it like this. So let me show you what that mean is. So when you run this Terraform apply, it always asks you, do you really want to approve this kind of a change? Okay. So in case of automation, if you are running some kind of a Jenkins or CI/CD platform, you can use that auto approve option to automatically approve that. But I always recommend to view your plan before approving that change, because these Terraform changes are non-reversible. Once that has been implemented, there is no way to revert those changes. So enter a value yes. And now Terraform is going to create all those resources for us. So whatever the thing which we have done manually via the UI, now we are building it via the Terraform. And here you can see that this AWS VPC ID, this is a result of that output block which we have defined here. Here I'm saying, give me that VPC ID. The same way you can reference any of these. So for example, if I want AWS Internet Gateway, okay, and I can do AWS Internet Gateway .gateway.id. Okay. Once again, I always going to run Terraform format, because Terraform already applied the change. It's not going to apply that change one more time. It's just going to see what are the changes. So right now I didn't do any changes. I just want to output that Internet Gateway ID. So now you will see it will display that Internet Gateway ID. And to verify our change, this is E6519. Let's come here, and you will see that the new VPC has been created. And let's verify the Internet Gateway. This one is DEDC59. So this is DEDC59. So yeah, this is the way we can create our VPC using Terraform. I know it looks complicated in the first go, but think of it like, rather than creating, let's say in your environment, if you need to create 10 or 15 VPC every day or every month, one once you can make this code, or once you create this code, you just need to run that code, and you don't need to create all those things which you are doing it manually. So guys, I know we are already 15 minutes over. I'm going to hang out here for another 15 minutes.